What's poppin', everybody? Hello and welcome to Popcorn Culture. My name is Ben Carlin and I am your host. Here with me today is my brother Jay, who will be in every episode
as the special guest.
The okayest guest.
Okayest? You don't have any other guests, man. I am the most special guest you could ever hope to have on this show.
Well, you're not very special to this particular show.
What?
No, you're incredibly special to the show. Well, I feel like I've stepped in my own shoes here.
Yeah.
What I was trying to say is that you're always the guest.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, the special guest.
Well, but like it feels like having a special guest is the type of guest where it's remarkable that guest is on.
Yeah, I would agree.
Once again, I feel like I'm being insulting unintentionally. Like it's expected that you'll be here.
Yes. Correct.
Okay.
Everything you've said is correct.
Okay.
Yep. All right, I'm just going to let that simmer.
Let that simmer.
Anyway, while that simmers, do you have a corny joke for us?
I really do.
Let's hear it.
This one was actually submitted by a member of our Patreon community, and it is, why is Cinderella so bad at soccer?
Because she's playing in heels. I don't know.
That would be difficult.
Yeah.
Because she always runs from the ball.
Oh! That's not how you play soccer.
No, you got to run at the ball.
Yeah.
As a giant cluster.
Or to the open space so that your teammate can pass you the ball or something.
This is the thing about soccer that I feel like when we were kids, what I really needed was an aerial view of how the game was supposed to be played. I even played in high school and still did not have this idea locked in.
Yeah.
But the way that professional soccer players move the ball around to one another, soccer is literally 97% passing.
Oh, yes.
That is the entire sport. And yet the only thing I ever wanted to do was shoot penalty kicks.
Yeah, that's pretty much how so much of the way little kids process soccer is I just want to dribble the ball. I want to go around people. I want to shoot. Passing the ball and stuff is so the non-sexy half of soccer, you know?
Yeah.
But you know what the teams that win do is pass. And you know what's really way sexier? Winning.
And penalty kicks. And red cards and yellow cards and things that are interesting.
Yeah.
And the moments where you nutmeg somebody.
Oh, man. There's nothing better than coming up across the foe and kicking the ball straight through their legs. Man.
And then they're left standing unawares.
Oh, boy.
They can't turn around fast enough. This is literally something that I think I may have mastered to zero actual effect as a child playing soccer. Was I would do this thing where I would sweep my right foot across the ball, right, which would open their stance up, kick the ball through their legs, but I would successfully nutmeg them consistently. The problem was that I would get so excited that I would kick the ball so hard between their legs that it would go so far from being in a useful position for myself.
Right.
So it was always boom, tricked ya. And then it was now I have to sprint and try to catch up with the ball. And I was almost always shooting at the goal from 10 yards to the left of the goal itself, which means I was basically shooting at the goal, which was parallel to where I was.
Yeah.
And it was almost darn near impossible.
That's a tough angle.
So then I really wanted these Predator shoes that had this rubberized insole, so that when you kicked it, you could put a little extra,
Put a little extra moxie on the ball.
Some moxie, some English is what they call it in pool. So I wanted to put some curve on it, because these are the things in my mind, and what I'm really actually, as I'm saying it out loud, is that all I ever really wanted to do was successfully pull off trick shots while inside of a game of soccer.
Right.
And it was frustrating to me that it seemed like the other team was very unwilling to allow me this opportunity.
Right. Come on, other team. You understand how cool it's going to look?
Yeah, I don't get it. Similarly, when I used to play basketball, one thing that I could not figure out how to do was successfully foul somebody.
Try to foul somebody?
Well, for some reason I feel like in my mind you were supposed to occasionally foul people on purpose to save the play.
It's funny the sort of things that small children will prioritize about a sport. One thing will get stuck and you're this is the thing I'm doing.
And so
this is my gimmick.
The idea is that if if you foul somebody while they're going to make a go-ahead shot, then you will have successfully prevented them from making that shot, and you're taking their chance on how good they are at making foul shots.
Right.
And in my mind, it was something that like I was attempting to do way too often. And it was
Right.
like I would go up and they would like go for a layup, they would throw the ball in the air, and then I would foul them. So what was happening every single time is that they were making the shot. Like,
Right.
like
Hey, they're getting the and one.
the and one.
Oh,
And so
no.
what I was discovering is that basically if I fouled you, it ensured you made the shot and your foul shot. So I was just, basketball was not my game.
Basketball wasn't your game, huh?
No.
Sorry to hear that.
No, actually, I have learned this. I do lots of self-reflecting, which I'm going to come back to here in a few minutes,
Yeah.
because I would love to cover 30 ways to improve yourself as per the internet today.
Oh, okay.
We don't
wow,
have to go
30.
We don't have to go through all 30, but we'll
Got a
go
lot
through
of
some.
improvement to doing. Okay.
I have tons of self-improvement, Jay, constantly. But I feel like the quarantine has left me with tons of time to think about myself and the things that have made me throughout the years.
Okay.
One of the observations I've been recently making is that I'm almost never good at anything that requires any kind of technical know-how at all. And I don't mean tech like technology, but like it was almost like the sports that I were good at were the ones that involved pure brute strength, which is also unusual because like in high school I weighed 135 pounds and was 6 feet tall. So
Right.
brute strength is not, people wouldn't
Wasn't
look
like
at
an
me.
asset of yours.
Yeah, so people wouldn't look at me and be like, you know what I like about Ben? His brute strength. That was not a thing. So I was this like rail of a kid, but what I mean by that is I was good at activities where all it took was going out and enduring the activity longer. So like running, for example, I could go out and become good at because all I had to do was run. Just one
Right.
foot in front of the other. And it was like my willingness to be uncomfortable longer than the other people.
Right.
Was like I think the big thing that I had at my disposal, and being 6 foot tall and weighing 135 pounds meant that I was very springy.
Right,
in
you
my,
found a way to brute strength something successfully.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So like all I ever had to do was go out and do it harder consistently over and over and over again until the point where I eventually just became faster.
Right.
However, and I think it's the only sport that I was ever successfully able to pass you in at all. But on the flip side, I would say soccer and basketball and sports that involved any amount of like dribbling, you know, like technical know-how where you're actually learning the skills associated, like the
Right.
follow through, like how to kick with your laces.
Right.
Those were things that I feel like you were able to adapt to in spades. And so as a result, you were like significantly better at those sports. And I was just never, as a reasonably athletic person, I feel like I was never able to become good at anything that required finesse.
Finesse. Well, it's interesting that you would interpret like my qualifications on the sports field as being like so much better than your own or whatever.
That is the way I saw
That
it.
is the way you saw it. Yeah, when I think back to the ways that like the things that stood out to me is like playing basketball. For example, like doing like rec leagues as a kid playing basketball. When I think back on it, I feel like I was always on like teams that did really well. Like it just so happened that the area we lived in, the rec league, the kids around where they were pooling from that would end up on my team consistently year in, year out, were very good at basketball.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So my rec league team would often be very good, and which, you know, who cares?
I mean, not to brag, but I got a participation trophy every single season.
That's right. We would win a lot of games if it wasn't for them Suns. Ugh.
The Suns.
The Suns, they were good.
Yeah.
They were good every year.
I feel like it was the Suns, and then in soccer, it was a team called the Orange Crush.
It was just the soccer switched around a little bit more for my that was like real little league when you had just color based things. Eventually, more like you had like just, you know, the town you were from. You'd be like Rocky Mount or Boone's Mill or whatever.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, but so like the other players on my team would be very good. I would be very good at like rebounding, but it wouldn't even occur to me that I should be trying to score goals or like shoot baskets.
Oh,
that
yeah.
much.
Yeah,
It was
lots of
like,
pressure.
Yeah, like oh yeah, I can get the ball, but I should be giving it to other people. Like. And it just bothers me when I look back. I'm like, why wasn't I more concerned with scoring? Like, I really wish I had put more effort into being the one making the baskets, because I would often be assigned the position of forward on the basketball team, which is the guy. There's like the center who stands like in the middle.
Oh, wow.
And then, yeah, right.
Who'd have thought?
I know, right? But then you have often two forwards who sort of stand on like either end of the backboard, and they're there to, you know, get rebounds. It's normally like the next tallest people.
Okay.
And I would get lots of rebounds. I was very good at this particular aspect of it, but it would like.
Well, I've seen you when a t-shirt cannon is in play, and they're launching them into the crowd. We've talked about it before.
Born of my years of rebounding basketball.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Like this I would have coaches of rec league teams tell me like, you had like 12 or 14 rebounds, which would be like like more than the older kids on the team.
Oh, wow.
Or even the taller kids, but it'd be like, yeah, but what'd you do with it? I don't know. Maybe I was good. Maybe I was like a big assist man or something.
That's the thing. I mean, they say like, Wayne Gretzky, what was so good about him is that he made everyone else on the ice better.
Yeah, he's like Michael Jordan or
like, yeah. Like Michael, that's a very good comparison.
Yes, Wayne Gretzky and Michael Jordan.
Yes, I wonder if anybody's ever thought to compare them as competitive players, the goats of their field.
Unlikely. Good thing we're here on the pop.
There you go. There you go. We'll shed some light on that brand new thought process.
Yeah, but it's just one of those things I think back on. I'm like, what? Like I didn't like. I was just like, I don't know why it wouldn't occur to me to like I should be. I was like telling myself like, you're not really good enough to be the one scoring lots of baskets. Maybe take a shot once or twice a game. If you get 4 points, that's good, but you should probably pump the brakes. So you know what I mean?
Oh, see, yeah, I would completely freak out if like the ball was in my hands. I feel like there was this idea, and I don't know if it was born of maybe even like I'm like 21 months younger than you are, but for some reason I feel like we did end up on some of the same rec league teams.
I feel like occasionally somehow it must have lined up that you'd be on the same soccer team. Maybe they had to like draw from like a bigger age pool to like
make enough
teams for the
possibly
whatever.
Yeah, but I think that could have played some part of it. Is that in general I felt like very frequently I was significantly younger than everybody else that was on the court or the field. But there was one moment in particular that I remember from rec basketball, and it was like I never took 3-point shots.
Yeah.
Ever, like never even thought to do it. And I remember it was like in the middle of halftime and we were just like shooting the ball around and stuff like while we're waiting on the game to start back up. And the whole idea when you're like shooting hoops during warm up is if you make it, you get the ball back again. Make it take it. Yeah, exactly. And so I'm standing at the 3-point line. I'm just like, all right, whatever. I'm going to heave it up there. Swish.
What?
And everyone's like, whoa. And I was like, that was cool. Like I didn't even know if I could make the ball to the basket from here. Like that's remarkable. And so like make it take it. So they throw the ball back to me, throw it up again. And I'm like
2 in a row.
2 3-points. I'm like in my mind, that was like confirmation. Like the feedback loop had been completed. Like
That's
Ben,
it.
This is your calling. You shoot threes.
So this was now your new thing.
Now I'm like, okay, I got it. So I'm inside the game and I'm like, this is gonna be incredible. Like as soon as I get the ball, I'm gonna take a few steps backwards just so I can throw up this 3-pointer.
Uh-huh.
So sure enough, someone throws it to me and I'm like, here we go. And I airball it by like 5 feet.
No.
Like it wasn't even remotely close to the hoop or to the net or to the backboard or anything.
This is the thing about like rec league basketball for young kids is that the idea that they're going to hit jump shots or 3-pointers is laughable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But this is what I'm talking about. With like the little rec league teams I would have, the kids on that team were like sinking threes, maybe not threes, but they were sinking jump shots from around the court.
Yeah.
In a way that I don't feel like is typical of, I don't know, 7 to 9-year-old kids.
And who knows? I mean, maybe it's more than we think it is. Maybe I'm
remembering it wrong.
Maybe we're underestimating the first graders of the world.
Perhaps. Gosh.
No, I know what you mean though. And there was one. The only other. This is my other highlight, and it was literally called against me. Like I wasn't allowed to like do anything with it. But there was this one moment where somebody went to throw the ball over my head, and I jumped like 19 feet in the air.
Whoa.
I know, it was crazy.
Turned into a teen wolf.
I know. It was like, what just happened? But like, no, I like jumped up in there, and to like my own surprise, like I jump up, both hands in the air, catch the ball, and it had like so much like, force, and I'm so gangly that I literally jump in the air and fall straight on my back. Well, that's a travel, so like,
you committed a foul.
So I committed a foul again, and I'm like this is like from my mental highlight reel from my under 10 basketball days is this one particular steal that I had where I literally just ended up inadvertently traveling. Yeah. So like I hit the ground and I remember the ref immediately blew the whistle and I was like, ref, you gotta be kidding me, man.
Are you backtalk the ref?
No way. I mean, I didn't say that, but I was like the pure astonishment that washed over me that I had just blown myself away with this catch, and that it was completely unnecessary or not worthwhile.
Similar story.
Okay.
Let me ask you: Did you ever pull off like did you ever block somebody? They shot the ball and you just straight up it slammed into the palm of your hand. You didn't foul them on this occasion. You just clean block. They shot. It hit you. Sorry. How embarrassing. It's the best feeling in the world. Did this ever happen to you?
This never happened to me, and I would say that we got some jumps in our family. Our dad is 5'8", and in high school he could like dunk a basketball. We definitely we could jump more than I think is typically expected.
I don't want to say I totally beat Lee Bradshaw and got third place at the districts of indoor track my sophomore year, but. I did.
But wow, called out!
But that's right. Third place districts. High jump. What?
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you still have the ribbon for that particular event on your dresser?
Doubt it.
In like a basket collecting
Doubt it.
dust?
But that was much to my own astonishment. I was like, did I just place in something at high jump?
Unexpected.
It was unexpected, but I was pretty happy with that day. Anyway, continue with your story.
No, well, I was just going to say that whenever I went to block somebody, was exactly like my ability to foul somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like imagining myself. And of course, I'm sure that in reality, it looked so different than it felt in my head. But like, the person would go up to make a shot. I would run and jump 19 feet in the air like I always did.
Yeah.
And this, every single person, regardless of who they were, was apparently able to shoot like a perfect rainbow shot where they're like, all of a sudden 7-year-old kid throwing the ball, both hands above their head, leaning backwards, doing the arc, the whole thing, swish. And I'm like,
right.
How did you get it? Can we see this in slow motion? Because I'm pretty sure I missed it by like fingertips.
Right. They performed all the mental math and were like, what looks about 19-foot jump I'm going with? I can shoot this 19 feet 1 inch.
I'm gonna heave it square in the air.
Swish it.
Yeah.
No problem. Yeah. I know the feeling because when you're a little kid, the idea of blocking the shot feels like it should be so easy. As long as you're in front of the person and you jump when they shoot it, surely you're going to hit it.
Yeah.
How could they possibly throw it over your head? You're right here. Your arm is up. This was something that I was like, blocking the ball almost felt mythical after like a couple of years of basketball.
Agreed.
Where it was like, I don't know how people are shooting it over me. And it's like, the answer is, it's not that hard to shoot over somebody.
Oh, yeah. They have the high ground.
They have the high ground. They're further back.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I remember just like longing for the day when I would indeed just straight up slam the ball right back.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it finally happens, Ben.
Was it Lee Bradshaw?
It wasn't. I think it was a kid named Brian.
But
yeah.
It would be Brian.
Yeah. It's exactly as you imagine it should be. You're standing right there, you're playing defense. They go to take the shot, you jump, ball slams into your hand. You're like, no way. I was so excited. Because it was such a clean block.
Yeah.
It was exactly what I pictured it to be. And I couldn't believe it. The joy overwhelmed me in my brain. I was like, that was amazing. And then they called the whistle and they're like, foul. And I was like, I was so mad. I was like, what? Like, aren't you allowed to block shots? It was as if they were telling me you were not allowed to block shots. Like, no. You can you can get in the way. You can't actually block it. That's the thing. I was like, what?
Now, can you imagine how disheartening that would be to that player?
Do you know how hard basketball would be if you could block shots? What are you, crazy? No, this was a complete miscall, but they called me for a foul for a beautiful block. Oh. And it was like, so disheartening in the moment because I was like, was I wrong? Am I not allowed to do that? Because I know I didn't touch them.
Right.
So mad, Ben. They totally ripped the rug right out of my little basketball Jonathan.
It's so sad to think about.
Anyway.
I know. That's the thing, though. That's the thing is that like the feedback loop gets damaged along the way. And it's like this moment that should have like forever reinforced. Like should have been true from that day forward, like my 3-pointers. Like I was supposed to be able to do them always. Mm-hmm. It was a life hack. Like I had realized if I shoot behind this line, just like you, if I jump in the air and block them, that it's supposed to be the most powerful feeling in the world. And it turns out that it turns out throwing up a brick in the middle of a game is the exact opposite. It is tragically ruining to your confidence, unfortunately.
So, Ben, since we're talking about sports, on the Reddit, there was a question regarding the various sports teams we follow, because I think a few episodes back we said Roll Tide for something.
Oh, wow.
I don't know what it was in regards to, but would you like to discuss the sports teams we follow?
The sportses? Yeah, no, because actually, I mean, I actually feel like there's an interesting topic in itself here, because I have found, and this is like proving just time and time again, this idea of like, don't meet your heroes is like the exact like way that sports teams or heroes in my life have existed to me.
Yes.
Like it has been this time and time again that just anybody that I look up to ultimately ends up just being like the worst.
Oh.
And it has been a tragic problem. We could start it off with our football team, which has a story attached to this. You went there to Virginia Tech.
Yeah. So high and away, the number one sports team I think that either of us follow is the Virginia Tech Hokies football team.
The Virginia Tech Hokies football.
Yeah.
Yes. And for me, it all started back in 1999.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know. I think I was 11.
Fourth grade must have been. Yeah.
Good maths.
Well, I was in sixth grade.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so yeah, fourth grade. And I remember Dad brought us to our very first Virginia Tech football game, and it was this thing like where I think I remember, there was so much that went into it, but we like tailgated, we were able to like bust out the camping grill and like on the back of did we drive the minivan or something? I feel like we were like, whatever. It was cool. But we got to make hot dogs and stuff, and you got to get like a souvenir, and we were like decked out, like I think in all the clothing, because the idea was that like that got you on the Jumbotron if you were like a super fan.
Oh,
and so
not like everyone else there.
Not like everyone. No, of course not. Like
Yeah.
I had like a pom pom that like a cheerleader would have, like as my hair with like a hat.
Wow.
On, and like face paint, and like I was wearing a sweater and all sorts of stuff. We had a gobbler,
Yeah.
which is like this thing you could shake and it would make like a gobbling noise. Then they eventually banned.
Right. The Hokies, if you're wondering what a Hokie is, it's a turkey.
It's a turkey.
And a gobbler is I think used by turkey hunters.
Yes,
To make
typically.
the call of a turkey, but people would bring them to the Virginia Tech games and just shake them in the crowds and make fun gobble sounds.
It was really cool.
It was really cool.
To this day, I do not know why they were banned.
Me neither.
It must have like been a problem for some other reason, or maybe people were getting hit with them. I don't know. Anyway,
Maybe
now the point.
turkeys were showing up. Mhm.
In this particular game, and I hope that I have the score correct, because otherwise this crystallized memory of myself, we were playing Syracuse, and it was a usually formidable team that we had to play on an annual basis. But this was the first year we had Michael Vick at quarterback, who was like single-handedly changing the game of football.
Yeah, like literally.
Yes, it was like unreal to have this like particular quarterback who could run as well as throw the ball, and it was like so fun to watch.
Right.
So Virginia Tech won. I think it was 63-0. Like
Just flattened.
them.
What a great first experience.
I know. I've always thought that. And so it was like, from that moment on, it was like, okay, I'm a Hokie. And they ended up going to the Sugar Bowl that year and losing to Florida State. But it was like
That was the national championship game.
the national championship
That
game.
year.
Yeah. Like, so that was like the biggest game that, like
The Nokia Sugar Bowl. Do you remember Nokia cell phones, Ben?
I do. Me neither. Oh, what a sick burn on Nokia.
I know. Take that. Man, anyway, sorry, go on.
No, yeah, but so anyway, our dad is like a TV news reporter, so he got to go down and was like at the game covering it for like the local like news thing, and I don't know, it was just like, it was a really overall super like positive experience, and like totally became the reason that like I became like such a diehard Hokie fan. But then anybody who's a fan of sports knows that like over time, ultimately there was a whole bunch of problems with Michael Vick, and you know, he was like somehow involved. To this day, I feel like I have like done minimal research on it because it like bothers me so much.
Right.
And it's like, I don't even know if I want to know the extent, but there was like a dog fighting ring, and he ended up going to prison and spending all
Yeah, I
his
think
time.
most people are aware of like Michael Vick's legacy.
Yeah.
Post his college career. And man, but you're right. I mean, I remember that too, because we'd been fans of Virginia Tech for, you know, just growing up as little kids.
Yeah.
There's no professional sports team, national professional sports team, you know, near Roanoke or anything.
Which is a phenomenon. I think that this is something unique to our area, because the stadium that Virginia Tech plays in is regarded as like one of the loudest stadiums in the country.
Yeah.
And it holds, I think, 67,000 people. But I think a huge part of that is because there are no other teams that like are competing for this particular region of the world's like fandom.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would say up until 1999, it was pretty split between the University of Virginia and Virginia Tech, because they were two big, the two big D1 colleges near us that had a chance at doing anything. And I think UVA had, in particular, had some success at basketball. They had recently graduated the, Rondé Antiki Barber, who went to our high school.
He went to our high school,
Yeah. So up until 1999, I think you had a pretty even split. Post 1999, not even at all, because Virginia Tech overwhelmingly became the more popular football school.
Yes.
Like, overwhelmingly. I would say, in fact, God, I'll give some credit to UVA, but for the first time in, I think, 16 years, they defeated the Hokies at football last year.
Yep.
And, just the overwhelming, it hasn't even been close, though.
Yeah, it's sort of like was this really odd thing that happened. And the whole thing that unfolded was really strange, because my childhood best friend's parents, he was a judge, and he went to UVA, and they were diehard UVA fans. And the thing that he would always give me crap for is Virginia Tech's GPA that they required going into school. It was like this thing that he would be like, yeah, but like, what's the GPA it takes to get into Virginia Tech versus UVA? And it was like, I don't even know what a GPA is. Like, I got a triangle in math this year. It was really funny. But so then the Michael Vick era happens, and all of a sudden, and I don't even know if these two things are correlated or if it just so happened to be the case, but all of a sudden Virginia Tech also became a really great school to go to.
Oh, 100% they're correlated.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because this put Virginia Tech on the map as like a football school. It like changed, like Virginia Tech had like the pre-Michael Vick era and then the post-Michael Vick era, where suddenly, all of a sudden, tons of applications were pouring in. The school was good at football for decades after. Well, It's only been multiple decades until this year.
The fact that it has been decades.
The fact that it's been decades, they've been competitive, they've been good. They haven't been to the national championship again or anything. But the point is, there was this like one person who changed the entire school and raised the average GPA from like 3.2 to basically 4, I don't know if it's like probably 3.9 or something now.
Oh yeah, I had
application rate.
I had like a 3.738 coming out of high school, and I did not get in. So.
Right. So it's like crazy to see the effects of this person, and then also to have be like a little kid watching it happen, and then to watch it be that person be so vilified and have to like own up to the fact that, that was a really terrible thing that person did. And gosh, it's so hard to rationalize that when you're like a kid, when someone you like looked up to so much that you're right. I went to Virginia Tech, that's where I went to school, and the whole school probably has, way more money because of this person. Like my whole education is likely affected by that season of football.
Right.
Which is such a weird thing to think about. God, that's probably a problem.
Yeah, right. It's like, I don't know how far you want to pull that string.
Yeah.
But no, and it's so true. But so I think like all that to be said though, it was like it's a huge part of our childhood. Now as adults, we have had season tickets to Virginia Tech football games and stuff. But so then moving on from that though, also growing up, we were huge fans of a rather obscure sport, but it was a huge deal to our parents, which was cycling. So like every year, as like something that like our family would like do, for the month of July, is follow the Tour de France. Which I don't know. It seems like is like a very popular, but I still have to imagine niche sporting event.
Well, I think it's sort of like the Tour de France is like akin to like World Cup soccer.
Yeah. It's like if you're gonna watch something, you're probably watching that.
Yeah, if you're watching cycling, you're not watching cycling anywhere outside of the Tour de France, probably.
Right.
Unless you're really invested and you're watching the Giro d'Italia and all the other,
offshoots.
all the other, big international races that happen on the circuit.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, of course, everybody knows exactly who the most famous person attached to the Tour de France is, which was Lance Armstrong. So this is like another thing, where we grow up, and I remember he was actually racing through Roanoke once upon a time.
The Tour du Pont.
The Tour du Pont, yeah. And so we got to see him come through and win a race in a hailstorm.
Yeah.
It was like an actual literal hail coming from the sky. It's the only time I've ever been outside when it was hailing before.
I think I have seen it hailing outside less than 5 times in my life.
Yeah.
And on one of those occasions, I happened to be in downtown Roanoke watching a cycling race where Lance Armstrong sprinted to a finish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And once again, Dad got to interview him.
Oh, yeah.
And
We had this picture at our house of Dad interviewing Lance, and it was like him and, oh, God, who's the other guy? It's Phil Liggett and Paul Sherwin.
Yep.
Right? So Paul Sherwin, it was like our dad's like co-commentator
Yeah.
for the Tour de Pont. It was like, what? Like, he, when you listen to the Tour de France, they have the world's greatest commentators. Well, Phil Liggett unfortunately has passed away, which is a real loss to the entire sport of cycling. But Phil Liggett, Paul Sherwin, these two like made the show.
Yeah.
And
because it's remarkable because so much of cycling, you're literally watching this entire like blob of people.
Yeah.
Like moving across a country road. And it's really picturesque and scenic and stuff. But for most of the race, almost nothing interesting is happening.
Well, especially if they're not in the mountains. Like because if you're not familiar with the Tour de France, they go through the Pyrenees and the Alps, and the race is decided on the mountains because that's when people can attack and make huge distance time gaps between their competitors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But anyway, that's only like 6 days, maybe 7 days of a 23-day race. The rest is a lot of flat cycling across France.
Right. Where somebody breaks away early on, and then the rest of the drama is basically whether or not the pack can catch these 4 riders that are like 20 minutes ahead of them.
Right.
And that becomes like the whole thing. And it's usually like in the last like 5 miles of the race that they finally do track them down.
They're so good at timing it.
Yeah, they are. It's amazing. It's almost like they have full teams of people.
It's like they have full teams of people in cars and communicators and they're professional athletes. But yeah, so of course you know the story. Lance Armstrong growing up. So as a result, like our dad, also a big cyclist just himself, he got to be semi-involved in this race that used to come through Roanoke, which Lance competed in.
Yep.
And we would watch him every year and we would know all the people like Jan Ulrich and like anyone he was competing against.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You knew the names.
And there
were like rivals and stuff, and it was like
so exciting.
We were so invested.
And he would win every year in this commanding fashion, and it would be amazing. And you'd watch all of his rivals fall to blood doping and all these scams, and you'd be like, nuh-uh, not Lance.
The cancer survivor.
Survived cancer, not doing any of this blood doping, defeating the guys who were cheating. What an American icon, except that he was cheating. And God, it's so painful when this happens.
It is.
I'm sure I don't have to describe it. I'm sure this was other people.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, for sure. And so, you're just sitting there and it's like so much of this like pride that you've had in this person who like represented, your country. Yeah. Like all of a sudden it just completely like you have to start doing these like mental hurdles is like figure out like where do you stand now
I know.
with this person who has meant so much to you in terms of like the way that you can value them. And I feel like with cycling in particular, it's this weird sport where there was like a 10-year span where literally every single winner, granted 7 of them were Lance, but where every single winner had their title taken away.
Right.
And so it's like no one has won the race for 10 years. Like,
There's just this big gap.
What is this sport?
I know. They're like, oh, it's just awarded to the runner-up. And it's like, if you're the runner-up, you're not like, I knew it. That counts. It feels the same.
It feels the same. I got to have that really cool moment in Paris where they put the yellow jersey on me and nope.
The lion. Yeah.
No, that's not how it worked. So anyway, moving on from cycling to, I would say the next would be our NFL teams, which would be the Washington Redskins and the New England Patriots, who, hooray, are the least controversial teams in the whole sport.
Oh my gosh, I can't even believe you mentioned the mascot of the Washington football team, because at this point, it's just like, why? Why can't you change the name?
Absolutely change the name.
Absolutely change the name.
It is so infuriating. It's like you sit there and it's the closest sports team to us. I think we're right on the edge with the Carolina Panthers where technically they might be physically closer, but even Washington D.C. is not a part of Virginia, but for some reason it feels more.
I don't know. It seemed like as a kid it was cooler to root for the capital than for a different state.
But then you read The Hunger Games.
Dude, I did just finish The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and it is a lot of bad stuff happens.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Anyway,
and we'll come back to that.
come back.
The team from Washington has been the like hometown quote unquote team that we have cheered for historically, and basically I think since the year you were born in 1988, they have never really been like good.
I want to say I think the last time they won the Super Bowl was '88. It's around there. It's around when I was born, and it was like, oh yeah, they were good. They were like one of the best teams. There's this, if you've seen the movie The Blind Side, there's this scene at the beginning where Sandra Bullock is explaining to you why the left tackle is so important, and the example she uses is when this guy Joe Theismann gets tackled because his left tackle wasn't good at protecting him, and I think he breaks his neck, some sort of spinal injury. Anyway, he was the Redskins quarterback, and basically since that moment,
That's just been it.
that's just been it. And it's not like the players or anything in particular have been a cause for concern with Washington's football team. It's really been mostly the mascot.
The mascot. Yeah. Which is it was such a big problem.
Yeah.
And I would say like when it comes down to it, the big thing for us is that our dad grew up in New England, which means we've always had sort of a backup team, which just so happens to be really super good.
Really super good. Yeah, this was almost necessary in our NFL viewings because Washington is typically so not good.
Yes.
At least you could count on New England to be good, but you could then also absolutely count on everyone to be calling the New England Patriots cheaters for one scandal after another.
Repeatedly.
It's like, I have no idea the legitimacy of any of them. I just know that a lot of people don't like the New England Patriots for being super good at football.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing too, is that like, no matter what, and this is even going back to the Tour de France example, it's like the reason why retroactively so many titles were taken away is because as the winner of the event, you were put under enormous scrutiny to ensure that you had not cheated. And if in the future, at some point in time, it yielded that you had, then it's like, ooh, okay, well, we're going to take that title back from you now. So ha.
Right.
And I feel like second place was usually only in second place by so much, and chances are it was just as hard for them to be in second place, but there's not nearly as much scrutiny over that one.
Right.
So it's like the real question there being, and I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but the idea being that there also seems like a reasonable likelihood that if you came in second, there might be that same reason as to how you came in second.
Well, this is the problem with professional cycling during this entire. I don't follow it nearly as closely anymore, largely for all the reasons we've talked about. But yeah, it just seemed like if you were at the top of the sport, it's because you were blood doping.
Yeah,
which is also then just another weird form of cheating that it's like you're just taking. I'm not like suggesting it's okay or anything, but what you're doing is you're taking your blood out, waiting for your blood to replenish, and then putting your blood back in yourself, right?
I believe so. I think it has something to do with like white blood cells, and it's almost like you take it when you have like very oxygen rich, and then like when you're racing 200 miles a day and it's not very oxygen rich, you can literally like replace your blood with blood you had previously that is oxygen rich.
Right.
So it's like there is a non like chemical steroid type of thing to it. I think. But I feel like I would be on very thin ice attempting to talk about it without.
It's not okay.
Yeah. Because
it's against the rules. But it certainly felt like the whole field was just doing it, and it just didn't seem like, why weren't you just testing everyone? I don't.
Right. It definitely feels like at some point in time also you're just going to ruin your own sport if everyone is doing it and you're going to take away everyone's title for doing it.
Yeah.
Then it's like, there's not much of a sport left.
There's not much, which I think is probably, I bet they're suffering from that even today.
Yeah.
But so anyway, that's been the long history of many of the teams and people we watched in sports and looked up to and have had to watch them be torn down for reason after reason, and for good reason, but it's just been a disappointing string of decisions on our part, and it makes it hard to like ever like really become a huge fan of like a single sports star.
Yeah. It's like I have like emotional hardship. I have baggage when it comes to me supporting anything in a sports context whatsoever.
Right.
It's like, no. I've been hurt before.
Yeah, and that's okay. We'll see.
And that's the thing. Everyone has been hurt by their sports team because by the very nature of how it works, like there are wins, losses, and the excitements and the downs and everything. That's what makes it fun.
Right.
But no, I feel like for some reason, our particular set of support that we've put out into the world has been met with just nothing but horrid heartbreak.
I'm curious to know if this is just everyone's experience, if everyone just feels like, oh, not my team's under fire again.
Right.
You know, or like it maybe this is the way everyone feels.
Well,
it's just that we only recognize it as it pertains to our teams because we're fans of those teams.
Right. So this actually like relays back to a sentiment that I express a lot, and that is that it is so easy to forget that you were at the center of your own universe.
Yeah.
And so frequently I think that you see something that may have happened to you. So like if you spilt mustard on your shirt or something, then because you're so enormously aware of this like blotch on your shirt at a fancy dinner party or something, you think that every single person you walk up to is looking straight at it, you know, and you're like, oh my God, how embarrassing. But the reality of the situation is that nobody knows to look for it. Mm-hmm. And because they were not privy to the spillage of the mustard on the shirt, it means that when they go up and walk or, communicate with you, their expectation is not to find something that is out of the ordinary.
They're not trying to find something wrong.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And so, but it's hard not to take those like insecurities and feel like they are being like megaphoned out into the world at like everywhere you go, as if everybody is immediately honing in on the very things that you might question about yourself.
Yeah.
So like my wife Alice, for example, had this nose dot is what we called it. And I think it was like a mole that she had like right on the like off center of her nose. And it was one of these things where when I first met her, I noticed it for about the first 7 seconds.
Right.
And then literally never noticed it ever again.
Right.
And I think a few years ago, she was like, okay, I think I'm actually going to go and have it removed. And I was like, have what removed? Like as if she needed to like legitimately explain to me that it would be something. I'm so absurdly used to it. Never would notice it.
Like as if in her mind, every interaction you've had with her since the day you met, you were thinking about it a little.
A little bit, yeah. Like as if I was like ongoing aware of it, which I was not. But you know that it's her face. It's something she sees when she looks in the mirror every single day. So I feel like that's a really good thing to keep in mind, is that if you have some kind of insecurity about yourself, you need to give yourself a little more credit that you are probably more critical of you than other people are critical of you.
Oh, for sure, that's true.
Yes. Which brings me to my stellar list here. I think probably we might even have to change what I was planning on titling this episode now that we're in the final quarter of it.
Right.
But I wanted to discuss, because during quarantine, I feel like I have been very introspective. I've been like reviewing myself a lot.
I see.
And as ever, putting myself under enormous scrutiny.
There you go.
For the ongoing behaviors and like whatever consistent things that I have. Like the other day, Alice pointed out that I leave out the creamer every day for my coffee.
Wow.
And she was like, this is like the most Ben Carlin. She actually came home and she was like, where's the creamer? And I was like, it's in the fridge. And she was like, you put it away? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, leaving out the creamer is like the most Ben Carlin thing ever. I can't believe you put it away. And it was like remarkable to her. And so, of course, that's been like ingrained into my brain now. And I will never leave it out ever again.
Isn't it amazing when stuff like this happens, like other people notice things about you and you have no idea you're doing? Or like when you have like a personal standard for something that is like far outside of someone else's.
Yep.
Like I want to say, I feel like growing up, there were certainly times where I would similarly like leave the milk out like at our house, or I would come home and the milk would have just been sitting on the table since like breakfast. And I would just pick it up and put it in the fridge and be like, oh.
I guess that's fine.
I guess that's fine. And you know what? The next morning, people would drink the milk and we would finish it and it would be fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that would happen. But I guarantee you there are people listening right now who are like gagging themselves. Like, you did what?
Oh, I know.
You know what I mean?
Jerry.
What? Yeah, like, so that kind of thing is certainly like me and my wife Beth have very different standards for like how long something could have been left out for
before it becomes dangerous to consume.
Dangerous.
That's so funny.
And it's like, I don't know what, it's like, what side of it are you, I don't know. You know what? I saw a really good tweet during the beginning of quarantine that was like, ever since quarantine started, me and my spouse have started playing a game called Why Do You Do It That Way? and it always ends with both of us losing.
Yes.
So I feel like
that is exactly right. Yes.
yeah.
It goes back to the thing we used to express the sentiment a lot on our gaming channel. But when you get into an argument with your significant other, winning is not winning. Like winning means you are married to a loser.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, this is scorekeeping.
Yeah, scorekeeping.
Yes,
Yeah.
scorekeeping. Very, very tricky business. You don't want to partake in it if you find yourself scorekeeping, which would be like, this would be like rewarding good behavior and like penalizing like bad behavior kind of stuff.
Right.
Or like being like, Ben didn't put the creamer away. That's like -5 points. Maybe you're not putting it into literal numbers like that in your head, but if you're carrying that sort of like resentment, or it's like, well, okay. Or like if maybe you were around the house and you're like, I took out the trash today, I cleaned up the entire living room, I vacuumed, I made the bed, I did 3 things of laundry, and now I am owed free time off or something.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. It's so easy to go down that
it
particular line, and you need to be careful not to keep score, which is something that I think I do struggle with constantly. So it's like I'm always sort of reminding myself in the back of the head to be like, okay, no, it's okay. Gotta let it go. Okay. So anyway. Tips to improve yourself. This is 30 just random tips that I thought this was interesting about myself. When I was looking for self-improvement tips, I typed it into Google, and instead of going to a web page, this shows how much I love when people say TLDR, too long didn't read.
Oh yeah.
I went to images.
Nice.
It was like, I don't want the blog post.
Wouldn't it be great if the first image was read the full article?
Right, yeah. It's like, no, I'm not going to. So I literally went to Google Images for this particular bit of inspiration. We're going to see how well we do on some of these. Number 2 on the list is spend time in nature.
Spend time in nature.
This
is a way to improve yourself.
Can we call nature outside?
I don't think you can.
Really?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so this is the thing. So I one of the things that our trainer harps on a lot is vitamin D, which you get from the sun, which happens from being outside, aka nature.
Well, I would say there's a difference between spending time in nature and like playing in the backyard.
Okay.
You know, I don't know. I don't know unless you think the point of this step is actually get more vitamin D.
Which I think is useful, though.
I think it is useful, but I don't think it's what this is going for.
Okay, so explain to me.
Because then wouldn't it just say get more vitamin D?
Well, it's not nearly as... That's like, that's too long. We can't have that.
Too long.
Get more vitamin D. That's 4 words versus spend time in nature, which is 4 words.
There's like a difference between going for like a walk around your neighborhood on the, the road. I wouldn't count, if you go for a walk through the neighborhood and you're on the streets, do you think that counts as spending time in nature?
It doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Okay, I feel like there's almost even like a detachment from your technology that needs to happen in spending time in nature. Like if you have your phone with you and you can text people while you're out in the middle of the, forbidden forest, then you're still not in nature almost. It's like you are, but I feel like the point of what they're going for with being in nature is this idea of like becoming one with the nature. Literally painting yourself into the bark of the tree like Peter Malark. Is that his last name?
Peter Malark, that is his last name.
Okay.
And also his ability to frosting his arm into tree bark, especially in the movie, is so outrageously unrealistic.
Yeah, I feel like they had to get the best froster on the planet to come in and do that frosting for him.
When Katniss finds, I just rewatched The Hunger Games this last week, and when Katniss finds him by the river and he has frosted his face into the rocks, I'm like, dude, I wouldn't have even spoken up to Katniss. You are good. You are gonna win. You cannot be found.
Stay put. Do not move.
Unless the game makers are shooting fireballs at you, you are set, dude.
Yes. Okay, so spend time in nature, become Peter Malark. Got it.
That's like spend time as nature.
That's a good point. Okay, so suggestion number 3, I skipped number 1 altogether, is do something scary.
Do something scary.
Yeah.
Have you done something scary during quarantine?
Interesting question. Have I done something scary? I'm trying to think of what I would define as scary, because there are things that I enjoy that I believe others would perceive as scary, but I perceive them as fun. So like, we used to do, and we've talked about it on the pot before, a certain amount of like cliff jumping into like, not cliffs really so much as large rocks into bodies of water.
Large rock jumping.
Large rock jumping, as I like to call it. Kind of rolls off the tongue a little better. This was an activity that like I used to be drawn to in a way that I cannot describe.
Fact.
Like it was something where I'd be like people would say, what do you want to do this weekend? I was like, well, I want to go find a big rock we can jump off of. Like legitimately, I'm not exaggerating. That is something I would say.
I do recall a certain period of time where on many weekends in a row, you would push for us to go create a like interactive video series about the various rope swings around Roanoke.
Yes. Go row. Go row. That's what I was going to call it. So we live in an area called Roanoke, and I was like, oh, if we have a website called Go Row, then all of a sudden we have a way to go and like showcase all of the unique ways that you can interact with nature. Huh?
I think it was specifically rope swings.
Nature in Roanoke. And I was super excited about it. I thought we could use GoPros and drones and all sorts of stuff. Really, I feel like my life's dream would be the ability to go and shoot things with that, but have like an ongoing reason to do so. Mm-hmm. It's not enough. I can't just go do it. I need to have a reason to do it.
This is always your problem.
It is always my problem.
You like the reason is that you want to do it, but that's never good enough for you.
No, it's not.
Maybe there's something about on this list that could help you with that. Maybe you need to go spend time as nature.
Spend time as nature. Okay. All right. So doing something scary. I'm not sure that I've done something scary. We've started live streaming on Fridays, which I would say for the Super Carlin Brothers YouTube channel. I would say the first time we did that, it felt scary because I didn't know how it was going to go.
Yeah.
So that felt like, you can be putting yourself out there a little bit.
Yeah. I've had to go to doctor's offices, which I don't know, feels scary during quarantine.
That does feel scary.
It's like lots of germs.
Okay. Good point. Okay, let's see here. We're gonna jump down to.
Can I just call a number out?
Yeah, call a number
out. Out of 30. Let's do number 29.
29.
We're going almost to the bottom.
Okay, actually, I really like this one. Start a 30-day challenge.
Oh, okay. I did start a 30-day challenge.
You didn't finish it?
Well, it doesn't say you have to, man. It just says start. So I think we're good.
Well, that's a good point,
right.
I guess. Like you don't
intend to improve yourself.
Intend.
Right.
Yes, that's
right.
That is what matters.
More important than actually following through.
Right. Okay. So the thing that I will say about this is once upon a time, I feel like in a psychology class in college or something, they challenged you to break a bad habit. And they say that if you spend 14 days doing something, you should be able to break the bad habit. So like biting your nails or what's another bad habit that people have? I don't know.
Boy, it's like now that you've asked me, what bad habits could there be? I don't know, like drinking.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
That's a lifestyle one.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll stick with biting your nails. So anyway, the idea would be that like if you could do it for 14 days, we were consciously making like a commitment to the idea of not biting your nails, then at the end of that 14-day period, it no longer is a conscious commitment to it. It will just stick. And this is something that I feel like I have way too liberally applied to my attempts to do things in life, where I've been like, okay, like 2 weeks. If I work out for 2 weeks in a row, or if I like set this new schedule where I'm gonna like get up and like run before work and then go to the gym afterwards, and then on the weekends I'm gonna go mountain biking with my friend Steven. It's like I'm like, okay, all I have to do is do it for 2 weeks, and then it'll be locked in, and my life will just be like committed to this new schedule. Yeah. And it's like you get to the end of the 2 weeks and you're like, man, I'm exhausted from doing that for the past 14 days. Thank goodness it's gonna be on autopilot now, and wake up the next morning and don't do any of it, and you're like, what happened?
What happened? Isn't it weird where sometimes like you have like a little nugget or like a little fact like that where you're like, this is how things are, and you like don't even realize how much stock you're putting into that thing.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. It's like fouling in basketball.
Exactly. It's like, yeah, as far as you're concerned, this is the rule that, 14 days, that's it. That's what I have to do. And if I can't make it 14 days, if that seems too hard, I shouldn't even try.
Right.
It's like, it sounds like what really needs to happen. You need your little inside out jelly bean dudes to just like suck that fact and just like get rid of it.
Get rid of it. It's
just
like you
reset that fact.
That particular idea or belief is sabotaging my ability to do the things that I need to do in life. I'm going to remember that, Jay, and it's going to apply to everything from now on, and I'm going to be able to fix every problem in my life.
There you go.
This is the new fact.
New fact.
That's replaced the old fact. The 14-day rule is out. The 30-day rule is in. No, this is interesting to me, though, because one of the ways that I tend to like to approach the world is by doing things in a rather extreme way. Like I've said before that if I wanted to, like I'm not good at waking up early in the morning. I have so much energy at night, so little energy in the morning. I swear it is harder for me to wake up than maybe you to wake up. You seem to just wake up and be awake, and it's infuriating.
Oh, not at the moment. I've got twin sons who sleep less than 3 feet away from me.
Okay, that's reasonable. Yeah.
It makes me very tired all the time.
Okay.
All of the time.
Okay. Well, so anyway, the point is, though, that the way that I'm always like, okay, I'm going to start waking up early. It's like if instead of just being like, all right, 7 a.m., like that'll be early. and that'll be perfect. And I'm sure plenty of people are like, 7 a.m. is early for you. It would be. It's like, instead of just setting a completely reasonable goal like that, I'm like, I'm gonna get up at 5 a.m. for the rest of my life. It's like, why 5?
Yeah.
Like why do you have to go so early?
Yeah. Like, hey, if you're not gonna wake up at 4, why even try to wake up early?
Exactly. And so for some reason to me though, then I get the accolade of waking up like absurdly early. You know, it's like, it becomes like a characteristic that is interesting about you that you can then...
That's the reason you're doing it.
You can cherish it. Yeah, exactly. It's like, this is what I can tell people. It's like, I wake up at 5 every day. It's like...
Because the only real reason you're doing it is so that you can tell people, I've started waking up at 5 every day.
Well, if you're not going to get that reward, then what's the point?
That you are awake earlier and you can do more things.
Right, exactly. Yeah, no, that doesn't seem like nearly as exciting. But in my mind, you know, like I imagine this new world that I'm in where it's like I wake up and like I'm even like proud of myself, you know, and it's like you're like grinding to get out of bed, you go downstairs, you're making your coffee, you're going to meditate.
This is again where I think we've hit an impasse. Where if I was performing some sort of self-improvement about this, like I think the fact that I wasn't going to tell people would be part of what was motivating me.
Oh, interesting.
Because like this is like my secret advantage all of a sudden.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's like I'm waking up at 6, like, oh man, it's like people, I just want people to like organically realize over time, like, man, you get a lot done. They're like, yeah, well, I don't know. You know.
I'm just productive.
Yeah, I don't know. I've got a lot of strategies. Like I just guess I don't know. I feel pretty productive. Yeah. It's like, oh yeah. I'm not going to tell you how I'm getting this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's, I mean, I think I inevitably do tell people whatever these things are, but that to me, it's like interesting that you're like, I can't do it unless I'm going to do it extreme, because if I just start waking up half an hour earlier, that is not worth telling people about. Whereas I'm like, if I'm waking up an hour earlier than everybody and I can get so much more done, that's going to be great. And people, and like that to me, like the excitement of having this little advantage that only I know about is like so motivating.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And I would say that we are completely different in this regard.
I think so.
100%. But no, that is a really interesting way to look at this particular new life hack.
You know what it sounds like, Ben? It sounds to me like if you found a hidden immunity idol on Survivor, you would be like wearing it around camp.
Like, what up, my dudes? Hey,
guys, I found it.
Guess what I found next to the log?
Yeah.
No, there is no way in the world I would ever tell someone that I had it. I would be perfectly okay, because in that particular case, perfect execution of an immunity idol is worth so much more than finding it. Finding it is the first step to getting to something cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's you definitely need to play it properly for it to go down in history. The other thing about this though is that I think a lot of why I value the second half of the day so much more than the first half of the day is going back to, and we've talked about it before, AOL Instant Messenger.
Oh.
Surprisingly enough. So in my mind, I feel like what used to be the case was, for the longest time, I remember I would just go to bed every single night at 10 o'clock. Like that was like my hard cutoff. Like I would literally like tell my friends, gotta go, and I would get off the computer at 10. And then I think what I slowly started realizing was that other people were not doing that, and that like I was missing out on opportunities to continue to be social later. And if I didn't do that, then people weren't like ending their day having talked to me, meaning I was going to be largely forgettable. And so it was like,
goodness.
I know, yeah. So it was this thing where it's like, well, I can't sign off that early, because if I sign off that early, then like I won't be like, you know, top of mind. And
oh man,
yeah. So
I did not realize you were so eager to be the last thing people thought of.
I don't know why it was like that though. Like it's not something that like I could have sat down with a guidance counselor and be like, what do you value? And I'd be like, I really need people like to like me. Like it's not something that like I was aware of.
But so this is why they would like you though, because you were the last person they talked to?
Well, I have no idea. You know, it's like
Okay.
if that's like what was happening on this like ongoing basis, like it could be the case. Like it's literally, you know, if you outlast how late they were staying up, then it means that they were leaving the night being like, it was really fun talking to Ben tonight. And like they wake up the next morning, it's like, it was really fun talking to Ben last night.
Never assumed anyone had any fun talking to me.
Why?
I don't know. I think about this all the time. I had just such I think I just had like very low self-esteem about myself, and I don't think I realized it. Like I didn't notice this symptom about me, but when I look back, I'm like, yeah, that was definitely a thing, but it was like I was suffering from it, but not like actively in my mind, you know, like I didn't like wake up being like, everything's the worst, I'm no good, I'm like
sure. I
I'm
get
this
what you're
terrible
saying.
person.
I think you can be oblivious to having low self-esteem. I absolutely think that's a real thing that can happen.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. But it's also interesting, I think, looking back on it and imagining this world where like my older brother, who I looked up to and just perceived as having so much confidence, not like maybe internally like not having that.
Interesting.
And I think that's probably like our siblinghood dynamic at play, where there's just like, you probably do look to your older brothers in some way, shape, or form, thinking that, or siblings for that matter, as if they are like invincible in some manner.
Right.
So I don't know. Yeah, that's kind of like a interesting insight into maybe like even the differences in this particular way in which we were coming up, and that like this was something that like I was putting like energy into. Like I am exhausted and should go to bed right now, but like I could be consciously aware of that and be completely unwilling to do that.
Well, once you make the decision that you need to be the last person, you basically have to be the last person still up on your buddy list.
Well, I mean, you know, I think I talked about this last time too. I would talk to 9 people at once. Mm-hmm. That's what was always like my strategy, because I had a square screen and you could go 3 by 3 all the way top to bottom. So I could see like my whole dashboard of conversations going on. And yeah, no, it was, I mean, it would probably be super dependent on like whatever, you know, relationship or, you know, friend group or whatever I was navigating at some particular point in time. So it wasn't necessarily everybody, but there were probably people where it was like important to me that I was having this effect on those people.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Learning so much about you today.
I know, it's really unreal.
Well, we've gotten very deep.
I told you I've been throughout quarantine, I've been incredibly introspective and attempting to like understand myself better and why I am the way that I am.
Yes.
All right, let's give one more number. Can you give me one more number between 1 and 30 that isn't, I think, Be Nature or 30-day challenge?
Yeah, let's do number 18.
Number 18. Listen to uplifting music.
Oh, I'm not doing that at all.
We have talked about this, I think, on our Shuffle Challenge episode, where you and I both were not people who were good at seeking out new music at all, to the point. And Ethan, who edits our podcast for us, very frequently he will text me while he's giving like a listen through and give me like his feedback on whatever it was we talked about on that particular day. And the way that we talked about the fact that we used the shuffle button, period, like killed him inside.
Really?
Yes, he was like, man, I take a vinyl record, put it into my player, and like we'll listen to an album, you know, like,
and just like sit.
I think just sit, yeah, cover to cover, man.
Ethan, that's nonsense.
Side A, side B. You know, like get the full experience of the message that they're attempting to send throughout the course of one entire album.
Oh.
I will tell you that when I have new music that hits my, like resonates with me perfectly, I can get into my car, put it on full volume, and it will like literally give me like an adrenaline dump.
Yeah.
And I'm like so stoked. It's like those are the moments where I wish I could get out at a stoplight and like throw a weight or something like that. Like it's like I can
Full
lift
Peter Malark.
I could, yeah, like give me a bag of
Give me a bag of flour.
A bag of flour. I'm gonna throw
it over the moon.
Full-blown Peter Malark. That's the real takeaway, is be more like PETA.
That's right. That's what every I don't want this to the list actually is.
How to be more like PETA. By the way, hashtag Team PETA.
Who was Team Gale? That's like, what? Nobody.
No, some people surely were.
Somebody.
Okay, hold on. I have a song right now that I have been listening to. It's I know that it is not the original, which I'm sure Ethan is going to like be grinding his nails, which is actually by the Cranberries, but it is the song Zombie, and there is one that people are using in TikToks quite a bit by Bad Wolves.
Okay.
Is like the cover of this particular song. But man, it is a straight, like, if you listen to it, I think you could legitimately like put headphones on, sit down, film your arms, and I would be willing to bet at one point in the song you can film yourself getting chills.
Oh.
Challenge extended to the people of the internet.
Okay.
Because yeah, so again, it is Zombie by Bad Wolves, or the Cranberries version, which is also absolutely spectacular. Love both songs, but that is the current bop that's
your bop.
That's what I'm jamming to. So Ethan, when I'm getting in my car right now and I'm putting my shuffle on, I'm putting shuffle on the one song I have from this particular artist and listening to it on repeat.
So not shuffle.
So, well, it's shuffle. It's
like-
just randomly choosing the same song.
Playlist with one song and I'm hitting shuffle instead of repeat, okay?
There you go. That's it. So, but that's the thing. Yeah, no. And I find this to be such a ridiculous challenge. But if I can find good music, I used to do this in high school too all the time. I would just go driving, like listening to music
Right.
and just like let it blare. Man, I feel like I am like literally invincible.
That's
but
cool.
the problem is it's so rare for me to consistently have access to music that gives me that feeling.
Right.
Because I'll kill it so quickly.
Right.
Like I will listen
just
to it.
burn it up.
Yeah, exactly. Just burn it up into a million pieces and then never want to hear it again.
Well, I know that feeling with music. I think so often whenever I have time to specifically listen to something, to me, music feels like the greatest like waster of time. Not that I never will listen to music, but like if I could otherwise be listening to like a podcast or a book or something, that just seems like a better use of my time. Just seems more productive.
It does feel, I would agree with you, and I'm sure there are plenty of people who would not, but you're absolutely right. Like, I would say that there are almost no circumstances that I can remember in my life, short of driving my car around and listening to music, where the only thing I was doing was just sitting and taking in music.
Right.
Like, it is not something I'll listen to it while I work out. I'll listen to it while I drive. I'll listen to it while I mow the lawn or something like that. But even under most of those circumstances, I'll have an audiobook in.
Right. Well, there you go.
There you go. Okay, so before we sign off, there's one last thing I want to do real quick, which is give a very special happy birthday to Ernie's wife, Jess Aykroyd, actually. So these are members of our Patreon. Jess's birthday was actually Wednesday, the 17th. She is turning 30, and apparently she turned him on to the pop.
What?
I believe it was while they were on their honeymoon at Disney World.
Well, happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday to Jess.
Very
Super cool. And thank
cool.
you guys for supporting us over on Patreon. If anybody else would like to support us on Patreon, you can do so by going to patreon.com/popcornculture. We have 3 tiers. They all do exactly the same thing. It votes on who is the host of the week. Currently, I am in the lead. No
Yeah,
big deal,
that's
no
right.
big
Ben's
deal.
in the lead for host, but I'm in the lead for special guests.
Well.
Yeah.
Also, if you support us on Patreon, you get access to After the Final Pop, which is an additional 10 to 15 minutes of us chatting about something else that you guys submitted. So if you guys would like to do that again, you can do so by going to patreon.com/popcornculture. Otherwise, guys, until next week.
Pop, pop.